The gruesome reality of the Caloh Wagoh killers, who were behind some of the most notorious murders committed by criminal organizations. Everyone knows that murder is often used as a tool by members of the Dutch Mocro Maffia, such as Ridouan Taghi, to maintain power and control, whether it's because trust has been lost or the target has talked to the police. Virtually every significant member of the Caloh Wagoh Murcer Cartel has been responsible for at least one homicide. But who are these dangerous individuals, and what brute murders have they committed? You really won't believe what some of the members have done. The perpetrators of these killings are frequently young boys who are attracted by the possibility of earning extra money, but may not yet understand the full ramifications of their acts. Alternatively, the shooter may be someone who is provoked by anger and a desire for revenge. In 2016, the Crips from the Hague and the Trailer Trash Motorcycle Club merged to form a new organization. This new group is known as the Trailer Trash Motorcycle Club. The newly established group, which was given the moniker Kalawago and mainly consisted of young males and people living in trailer parks in Suriname, made contact with the legendary criminal Ridouan Taghi. Delano was eager to prove himself, so he carried out a free kill for Taghi. This was just the beginning of their cooperation, as Taghi paid an average of 70,000 euros for each murder. Jair Wessels was gunned down on a sunny day in a parking lot in Brooklyn, considered one of the most heinous killings carried out by the infamous motorcycle group Caloh Wagoh. Jair was executed coldly by being shot multiple times. Jair spent the majority of his time in Spain, where he had a lavish lifestyle and was well known to the authorities. Nevertheless, at the beginning of July, he traveled back to the Netherlands in order to witness the performance of his daughter. On the day of the murder, Jair drove a rented Volkswagen Golf to an appointment with an interior designer. After spending just 45 minutes there, he rushed to his next destination, Brooklyn Station. While he was on his way to the station, a black car pulled up and parked in the lot. Moments later, as Jair entered the parking lot and parked his car, a man approached him and began firing several shots in front of many witnesses. Unfortunately, Jair did not survive the shooting, and Tony De Gea, a member of the motorcycle gang Caloh Wagoh, was one of those responsible for this murder. He was the one who drove the getaway car after the murder, and when the two perpetrators fled, they went straight to a second getaway car. When they got there, they wanted to set the first getaway car on fire, so they filled it with gasoline and tried to light it on fire. However, someone was standing near the garbage cans a few meters away at that precise moment, and Tony Taghi and Michelle K, the people who pulled the trigger, were forced to commit another murder. They had no choice but to put an end to Zeke straight away this time. Tony didn't realize that Zeke was also dealing with narcotics outside, so he had to use Zeke to distract him. Zeke was a vehicle dealer. Tony was told to make contact before a trade would take place because Tony had done business with Zeke in the past. Tony was suitable for this, but Tony doubted it because the last trade he did with Zeke had not gone very well. Tony knew that his father and Zeke were better friends. Tony's father owned a car wash business. Tony deceived his father, who then scheduled the appointment. Tony's father was also a member of Caloh Wagoh at the time that Tony was. Tony had scheduled a meeting for him, his father, and Zeke. Tony had taken a photograph during this meeting and had it sent to Delano. Tony had the impression that he had finished his work, but he found out later that Zeke had to be sacrificed. Tony was under the impression that Zeke had to be killed because someone stole a quantity of cocaine, and he was responsible for Zeke's death. Delano had also told Tony that running away was of no use anymore, and that he might as well commit this murder too, because, according to Delano, he already had one foot in prison. After all, the car had not burned down, and a lot of evidence was found in the car. Tony then began to procrastinate, and he interfered with the 4 reconnaissance missions whenever he sent images of street signs, pretending to be seeking. From that point on, Delano put pressure on him. Tony Moore finally decides he can't take it any longer and goes into hiding. As Tony is in hiding, Zeke is eventually killed in Rotterdam. Delano grew increasingly impatient and continued to threaten Tony more. Zeke is found dead in his vehicle after being shot. Later, another driver observed Zeke dead in his vehicle and phoned the police. Zeke had told someone he knew he needed to go to an appointment to rent a car. Greg R. Delano's right-hand man is thought to have ordered the murder. Greg would have been asked to do this by an acquaintance in the Turkish drug trade. During this time, Baron was responsible for the murder that was committed. Tony had gone into hiding in Spain in order to evade both Delano and the police in the Netherlands. Tony didn't feel safe in Spain either. He was just aware that he had more distance between himself and Delano at this point. However, Tony is especially concerned about the safety of his family members because he is aware that Delano already knew that he had fled. Because Delano is unable to reach him as quickly as before, family members are in a more precarious position than before. The Spanish police were informed that Tony was hiding out in southern Spain. The Spanish police were also informed of exactly what Tony had done in relation to this matter. The Spanish police immediately took action from that moment on. They kept an eye on Tony at their apartment complex. They set up several observation teams that monitored the building 24 hours a day. The Spanish police took a photo of Tony and notified the Dutch police. The photograph depicts Tony and his father. The Spanish police make an arrest and use a special police unit in case a firefight breaks out. Tony is arrested in the presence of Dutch police shortly after Tony is brought to the Netherlands for interrogation. However, instead of remaining silent like most criminals, Tony makes a complete statement. He confesses everything he talked about, what they did, how it happened, and who the perpetrator had been. The Dutch police are surprised and did not expect this in the case. Caloh Wagoh, Tony is still suspected of murdering Jair, and the liquidation in Brooklyn was ultimately what prompted Tony to turn against Brooklyn and join justice. This is important to keep in mind. To start testifying regarding this murder and other murders, the two murders that Tony felt guilty for gave him the deciding factor to finally cooperate with justice. He just wants protection for himself and his family. He knows he is going to jail anyway, and should he ever be released, there is a good chance that he will still be killed for refusing to carry out Delano's order. In just a 6-month span, the murder cartel was responsible for 6 actual homicides and 10 attempted homicides. The murder ring was responsible for 6 successful murders and 10 unsuccessful attempts at murder. A chilling truth that sheds light on the tragic outcomes that are a direct result of the criminal underworld at the moment. 21 people are on trial, accused of committing some or all of the alleged crimes in various combinations. 4 of the accused were given the sentence of life in prison. At the same time, the other 14 suspects received penalties ranging from 1 year to 30 years in prison. Throughout the course of the FRI's inquiry, 3 men were found not guilty. This inquiry, as it is known, is not only one of the largest investigations the Netherlands has ever had, but it is also one of the investigations the country has ever performed that has received the greatest public attention. What are your thoughts on this case? Please let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications before leaving. Thanks for watching.